Welcome to Global One Media Stocks to Watch. I'm Michael Swido. I'm speaking today with Adam Coates. He's the Chief Revenue Officer of Decibel Cannabis. They're a Canadian company. Adam, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
Before we get into everything, a note to viewers. Cannabis is legal in Canada, but that is not the case in many markets. So please do respect the relevant laws and regulations wherever you may be. All right, Adam, let's get to it. Decibel Cannabis produces and sells several brands of cannabis with names like General Admission, Qwest, and Vox. Give us a quick tour of what your company sells.
Sure. I mean, we're highly focused in the ready-to-consume product format. So vapes, pre-rolls, infused pre-rolls, edibles. We sort of grew up as a business on premium dried flower. But what we're noticing is that consumers are shifting to preference towards these ready-to-consume products. And so while the dried flower business is still a big part of the market, where we think we can compete really effectively with scale through manufacturing, consistent and innovative products is really in those ready-to-consume formats. We've really led the way in innovation with our brand General Admission in the vape and in the infused pre-roll category. And we're always kind of pushing and on the leading edge, on sort of new product and new product development, as evidenced by the launch of our Vox Pops crushable pre-rolls, which launched earlier this year. General Admission holds the #1 market share position in Canada. And as a business, we're in the #2 market share position in Canada overall from a retail sales perspective. And so, we really believe in our ready-to-consume strategy and believe that that's where consumers are going. It allows for a more consumer packaged good or sort of normal consumer packaged good experience with a high level of consistency, as well as opportunity to scale from a manufacturing perspective to look at expanding margins. And so it's that perfect sweet spot of being able to scale at an efficient level and also be where the consumer is and where their choices are going. And I think we've done a really good job with that, as evidenced by our share position in Canada.
As the Chief Revenue Officer, you're responsible for the top line of the business and ensuring that grows. Your business right now at Decibel is primarily in Canada. If we look just south of the border to the United States, the Biden administration is reportedly planning to reclassify marijuana as a Schedule III drug. That would put it in the same category as anabolic steroids, and it would be a game changer for the cannabis industry in the US, opening up banking services, essentially decriminalizing marijuana use at the federal level. So what I want to ask you is, if that happens, will your company expand to the US?
Yeah, I think there's tons of opportunity still in Canada, and we continue to build our plans and efforts towards building our business in Canada. However, there's a lot of market out there, and I think with our manufacturing and commercial expertise that we've honed in a very competitive and tough industry and market in Canada, it really sets us up well to look at other markets like the US, to increase our total addressable consumer market. There's a number of states that have kind of legalized recreationally, by some change in regulations and laws in the US will make it easier for, a Canadian entity like ourselves, to be able to meaningful participate in some of those, established markets. And we have a general sort of outside of Canada strategy that includes a thoughtful look at the United States and markets that we might want to participate in, as well as other markets overseas, like in Europe and Australasia. So we think that the foundation that we've built, the experience and sophistication of our business in Canada will really lend itself to be able to hit the ground running in these markets and not have some of the, I think the learning and the very expensive learnings that a lot of companies have as they're starting sort of greenfield expansion in some of these other markets that are relatively new. We have the opportunity to come with established brands, with products that we've been making and building and consumers love, for many years now. And so I think it really puts us in a very competitive place to be able to compete in these markets when regulations and laws allow us to do so.
So you talk about hitting the ground running and this out of Canada strategy. If you do go into a new market, be it US, Europe, somewhere in Asia Pacific, would you go in with the same brands? Would that be successful, do you think, or would you need to customize it to the local market?
I think the answer is both. We've built, I think, a lot of credibility and brands in Canada that would be able to transfer over into other markets. And we've already done that with the Qwest brand in Israel. We're going to do that in the United Kingdom as well, with Qwest and General Admission. And so, while we want to build our brands to be truly global brands, and the way that we position them is in a way that will be, I think, relevant to sort of, outside of Canada markets. There are some tweaks and customizations that you always need to make that make it more relevant for, the sort of, I guess, external market that we might be looking to outside of Canada. And so we have the ambition to create global brands out of General Admission and Qwest. But as we get into these new markets, I think we'll find other opportunities for some more local and regionalized brands over time. And I think you see a lot of examples like that in the beer industry, in the beverage alcohol industry, as well as many other industries where you have truly global brands that, transcend geography. And then you have some local and regionalized brands that cater a little bit more to sort of that regional market. So I think it's a hybrid strategy as we think about the long term for our brands under Decibel.
I mean, I think of a bit of a different industry of fast food and McDonald's when it comes to Singapore. I mean, it is a global brand. It has the Big Mac, it has fries, but it will also sell rendang burgers, or it will sell other things which are specialized for a time of year and for our market. And it sounds like you're looking at that.
Exactly. And I think that is the exact strategy that, we are going to take into these markets, because the reality is, if you look at a market like Israel, like Australia, like the UK, where it's almost 90 or 95% dried flower in terms of what the revenue opportunity is. And it's a predominantly, well, it is not predominantly, it's a fully medical market in those regions. And so what we did in Canada is, when before, kind of cannabis 2.0, being edibles and vapes and concentrates were allowed in Canada, it was dried flower and pre-rolls. And we really built our name and reputation over high quality craft flower. We were one of the first truly high-end premium cultivators of cannabis, in Canada. And, that really built the credibility of, hey, these guys know how to, make great products that appeal to consumer taste and demand, and can bring an outsized level of quality, at a great price point. And then the credibility that built us allowed us to get into some of more of those novel formats, which are really kind of taking off. And so taking that same strategy where, in these other markets, looking at Europe and like Australasia as an example, where it's predominantly flower, entering the market with high quality craft flower, and then as regulations allow and as the consumer develops, being able to launch in some of those other ready to consume formats that we've seen gain tremendous popularity, in Canada. Now, the United States is a little bit of a different market, where it's, not a medical market in states that have legalization. So ready to consume formats, are very much in play. And I think we would take a bit of a different approach should we be able to, compliantly enter those markets, and bringing the weight of our ready to consume business that has helped our growth in Canada, and really, take advantage of that, as well as our manufacturing expertise, to be able to have a great position in that market, when the time comes.
That's really interesting. I want to segue from what you're selling to how you might expand. More specifically, expansion requires resources. So how do you plan to finance this?
Sure. I mean, right now we are, a cash flowing business. We're one of the few companies in Canada that are profitable, not just at the EBITDA and income, net income line, but also from a cash flow generation. And, I think that's really important, is that we feel very confident in being able to self-fund, much of our, much of our growth plans, but also, as we get into sort of some more established, rules and regulations that give us, the view on being able to go in force to, a market like the United States. We think that there's going to be capital available for us to be able to go and raise the required funds to fuel the growth in those markets, as it will require significant resources. But on the back of our results and being a cash flowing business, which I think is really important and something that's very unique in the cannabis industry, as being a truly sort of profitable business with fundamentals from the top line to the gross margin line, all the way down to the bottom line. And I think that's a huge strength of our business today.
All right. Regular listeners, regular viewers know what's coming next. It is time for the elevator pitch. Adam, you got 45 seconds. Tell us, why is Decibel Cannabis a stock to watch?
Well, I think we're undervalued for the results that we're putting out. If you just look at our financials, again, from the top line to gross margin to profitability and cash flow, our market position in Canada, and the opportunity that we have to take this platform to much larger markets outside of Canada. I think on a fundamental basis, we provide a great opportunity for investors. And our valuation is at a time right now, where there's quite a bit of value to be had.
Adam, it's been really fascinating. I've learned a lot about your industry. It's really interesting to hear about your expansion plans, potentially to the US, to Australia, to Europe, how you're going to be taking your established brands, also customizing things at a local level. Wish you good luck.
Thank you so much for having me.
I've been speaking with Decibel Cannabis's Chief Revenue Officer, Adam Coates, and you've been watching Global One Media's Stocks to Watch. I'm Michael Suardo.